Senator Lindsey Graham on Friday floated the idea that President Zelensky may need to resign in order for there to be a peace agreement. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, something has to change. Either he needs to come to his senses and come back to the table in gratitude, or someone else needs to lead the country to do that.
You are saying that it might be necessary for President Zelensky to step down and not Putin. Do you want to see Putin step down?
I'd like to see Putin defeated, frankly. He is an adversary of the United States.
Okay.
But in this conflict, we've got to bring an end to this war.
I mean, I guess it's good that he says in theory he wants him to be defeated. He's not even calling for him to step down, and would be meaningless, I guess, if he did. He definitely wouldn't step down. But notice, the democratically elected leaders, those under siege, they should probably get the hell out of there because they didn't, I guess, kiss the carpet of the Oval Office for JD Vance or whatever. But Putin, I don't want to criticize him because Donald Trump really likes him, and that might be it for my career. So I guess we'll defeat him in the conflict or something. And so that's Mike Johnson. I guess his career is totally tied to Donald Trump. He has to say what Donald Trump wants. Not everybody in the Republican caucus agrees with him. And so Lisa Murkowski said that the week started with administration officials refusing to acknowledge that Russia started the war in Ukraine. It ends with a tense, shocking conversation and whispers from the White House that they may try to end all US support for Ukraine. I know foreign policy is not for the faint of heart, but right now I'm sick to my stomach as the administration appears to be walking away from our allies and embracing Putin, a threat to democracy and US values around the world. Now, Johnson was asked about those comments from Lisa Murkowski, and here's what she had to say.
I think Senator Murkowski's view on this is plainly wrong. The person who walked away from the table yesterday was President Zelensky. I mean, look, I've been involved in a lot of bilateral meetings like this with heads of state and dignitaries. There's a certain protocol to these events, but for him to act as he did was rather shocking to everyone. I mean, President Zelensky, instead of showing gratitude, he interrupted and berated his hosts at a very perilous time for his country. He should have been anxious, I think, to enter into this agreement. Think of it. The Mineral Rights Agreement would be a win-win for both countries. It would give us an economic interest there, and everyone around the world knows that America will always defend our interests.
So again, just utter like, yeah, give us $500 billion, and then yeah, no, we'll probably protect you. I mean, like, yeah, Johnson, I like that he describes the protection racket with a very calm, level voice. Donald Trump freaks out about the fact that he wants to be a mob boss with a protection racket for this guy, and so like, but again, in terms of our interests, we have interests. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm old-fashioned, JR. I don't think our interests are only minerals.
They are.
I don't know, like the growth and spread of democracy around the world, respect for human rights. Those, sorry.
He can't.
I was gone for the weekend, and I guess my mind went back to previous decades or something. I thought those were interests of ours.
This is part of what you were quoting when you were talking about how the interests of the United States, officially, as far as the leadership in the White House right now, is piggybacking international interests that actually coincide with Vladimir Putin and Russia, because that's where it is. It can't be anywhere else. It's what they're voicing. They're saying exactly the same things. They can't even deny it. So anytime they're confronted with it, it just turns into, well, this is what needs to be done in order to get this war handled. So again, after that's said, and that's supposed to be the conclusive answer to this, it's, so your answer is, we must do what Russia tells us to in order for this war to end. I just want to get that answer, and that's okay if that's your answer, but I need to know if that's what you really mean to say. You'll say it in 4 different ways in a roundabout way to make sure that people don't fully understand exactly what they're saying, or at least have some kind of off ramp to say, well, no, that's not really what I was saying, but what I'm saying is exactly that. I just listen closely every time they talk about this, because listen, there's also a reason why they keep telling Ukraine to come and bow down. There's this transactional aspect of this president, which everyone already knows. There's been 14 quid pro quos. There's been all kinds of leanings on people trying to get someone to interfere with this election and that, to deny it afterwards, then say that this judge that ruled against me is only doing that because of his background. It's all transactional, and it's all based off of his bigotry. So in this particular case, they'd like Ukraine, and particularly Zelensky, to come in and bow down and thank you, oh my God, because they need to look better. Everything they're doing is a disaster in reality. But they need this fake reality that they're presenting to their supporters, and they hope the rest of the country to look good. And this is in his history. In his first term, look what he did with COVID. He didn't want to do testing, not because he didn't have enough tests or it was too hard to come by, because as we heard also, he gave several of those testings to his buddy Vladimir Putin. It's weird how it keeps coming back to him. But during COVID, he didn't want any testing to happen because he said that would look bad. I don't need more positive numbers. There won't be as many positive cases of COVID if we just simply don't test. It's all about how it looks. There's no concrete evidence behind anything that they do. Elon Musk is raiding our federal government, but there's no actual evidence. We just want you to believe us. It's surface level. So again, with this conflict, they want everyone to believe them, that they look so strong and powerful. Look at Volodymyr Zelensky going through all of these changes, and he's disrupting democracy in his country so that they can look good. They want him to come and bow down so they can look good. But this time, it's not even to look good to Americans, it's to look good to the guy in Russia.
Yeah, and let's also, by the way, I'm sure any conservatives watching this are gone already, but let's be clear. Look, Donald Trump is obviously, he's obsessed. He has this weird crush on Vladimir Putin. We all know that. We all know that he wants to set up an authoritarian regime just like in Russia. They love the oligarchy. They love all of that stuff. And not just Donald Trump. JD Vance likes it and Elon Musk likes it, all that stuff. But then bear in mind, there's also, and I'm sure everybody who watches the show regularly already knows this, you're not gonna be surprised by this. It is deeply personal. He wanted Zelensky to do election interference in 2020. That's what he wanted. He wanted Zelensky to do a sham investigation of the Biden family so that Donald Trump would win. And look at how mad Donald Trump is at CBS for he thinks manipulating an interview. They didn't, but he thinks they did. And he still won the election, and he wants $20 billion from them. That's how vindictive he is. Now, what about in an election that he lost? And he thinks, maybe I could have won. If they'd done a sham investigation of Joe Biden, maybe I would have won it. He hates Zelensky personally, just for him. This has nothing to do with America. This has nothing to do with a single conservative, a single MAGA person. This has nothing to do with Mike Johnson. This is deeply personal to Donald Trump, who felt like I had this great plan to cheat and I lost instead and I looked like a big dumb donkey. And he has been nursing that grudge ever since. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.